Hi there. We're taking a look at a paper 2 question, a 9-mark question from a past paper. This one was about a hotel business called Drake Hotels. The question's on the screen there. So let's take a quick look at what the question is looking for, and then we'll see how we might have responded to the data that was provided. A classic paper 2 9-mark question. Well, the question is analyze the challenges the HR manager faces as a result of the patterns of room bookings. So our argument or arguments need to start with the data, the pattern of room bookings, and they need to get to the endpoint, how this creates a challenge for the HR manager of the business of Drake Hotels. So we need to focus on the consequence of the data, the patterns that the data is showing and how that creates a challenge. And of course, with this, we're going to need two, aren't we? Because we're told or asked to analyze the challenges. Two challenges, and as it turned out, as I'll explain in a few seconds, there were two pieces of the data, which made it really easy to analyze one piece of data first and then the next. Talking about the case study, paper 2 is the reason why students often do really well in paper 2, in particular with their applications, because you're given the case study. So we need to make maximum use of it. In this case, a hotel business, a budget hotel business with 20 hotels in different cities. Very importantly, the business had an objective to become efficient. And of course, that would play on the HR manager's role in terms of decisions taken. We were shown two charts that showed index data. So the ability to be able to interpret index data is quite important. One of which showed the monthly demand by month for the business on average. And it showed that the busiest months were June, July, and August. The quietest month, December. And also we had another chart that showed within the week which were the busiest nights for the hotels. And that showed that Saturday night was the busiest, followed by Friday, whereas the weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday were quieter, Thursday being the quietest. And with that data, we can then create some potential consequences, some challenges for the HR manager of Drake Hotels. So I'm going to have a go at working through my two responses. As always with these things, you may want to pause and grab hold of that past question, have a go yourself, or just have a think about how you might develop your 2 points. We're going to use the pecan approach for both. No evaluation required. So we start with a point and then we go on to explain how and why, ideally using as much application as we can to route the answer to make it about a hotel business rather than any old business. So there we go. Here's argument 1. Let's have a look. One challenge is that demand for Drake hotel rooms fluctuates significantly during a year. So the HR manager needs to tackle seasonal changes in demand. So that's the point I'm going to develop. How is that a challenge? Well, for example, the data in monthly room bookings from one of the charts indicates that demand is over 50% higher than average during the summer months of June, July and August, or June to August, whereas demand is just 60% of average in December. Really quiet. Consequently, a challenge for HR will be to recruit sufficient hotel staff, such as waiters, chefs, and cleaners, when the hotels are busy with guests. This might be achieved by recruiting workers such as students on temporary contracts, thereby only incurring their costs when demand is high. However, Drake Hotels is likely to face competition from other employers, for example, local hotels, restaurants and bars, for those same temporary staff, which might leave the business short of the staff it needs. So I think that's a good explanation of that particular challenge. How do you make sure you've got enough staff for the peak months of June, July and August? And I've highlighted in red there, perhaps gone a bit OTT on this, but you can't have too much application in these type of answers. I've tried to make it all about not just the data, so using the data there, couple of calculations, but also using such as seasoning. So words, rather than just talking about recruiting sufficient staff, why not say recruit sufficient staff such as waiters, chefs and cleaners, to make it about a hotel business. And of course, I could have also highlighted the word guests there, which is also relevant, isn't it, to a hotel business. Well, that's one argument. We've dealt with one piece of the data. There was some more data there that talks about how On average, how busy are the hotels on each of the 7 days of the week? And well, I mentioned what the data showed, so let's see how this point develops. Another challenge is that hotel room demand also varies within each week, which needs managing carefully if the business is to be efficient. So let's explore this particular challenge. For example, the busiest day on average is a Saturday night, when demand is almost twice as high as the quietest night of Thursday. So using the data. Weekends in general are much busier than weekdays. Consequently, the HR manager will need to organize staff availability carefully so that the hotels have enough porters, cleaners, and bar staff working at weekends, perhaps by using flexible working contracts to allow staff to work fewer hours on weekdays. In addition, the HR manager might try to organize part-time staff who work on a Friday and Saturday, that could say only, I guess, potentially in reward for a slightly higher wage, particularly if there is competition for part-time weekend employment. Again, so hopefully I've explained that's the challenge for the HR manager. How do we make sure we've got enough staff at the weekend on a Saturday? Don't need so many on a Monday and Tuesday. Definitely don't need so many on the Thursday, but Friday and Saturday pretty busy. So how do you meet that challenge? And again, I've just highlighted on the response there how I've drawn from the chart, but also tried to use a bit of such as seasoning, just repeating my trick from the previous paragraph. Staff such as porters, cleaners, and bar staff. And I think that argument, together with the first one, I reckon that's good enough to get to level 3 for that question, 7 to 9 marks. Well, let me know in the comments what you think. And if you want to have a go as well, I'm happy to have a look at your response in the comments. Cheers.